All right, in this video, I'm going to cover some short-term analysis for Bitcoin, as well as looking at some higher time frames. So let's just dive right in with this 4-hour time frame. As you can see, we still have this confirmed bearish divergence in the charts, which basically pointed towards us getting a break from all of this bullish price action. So far, this played out perfectly over the course of this weekend. However, now that we are heading into a new week of trading, possibly we can start to look for another move to the upside for Bitcoin. When you zoom in on this 1-hour time frame, you can see that so far we actually had a pretty clean break of this descending trend line. However, there's very low volume actually backing this up. But to be fair, that is also to be expected during a weekend. So you can see that for now, we're basically still just trading sideways over the course of this weekend. However, if we now basically continue holding this bullish structure while we start to get more volume coming into the market, then we could also start to look for a bit more upside from here. The key thing that I'm personally really looking out for is, first of all, an invalidation of this 79.2K level, roughly speaking. Once we break through that on the 4-hour time frame, it completely opens the door to more bullish price action for Bitcoin after that as well. And secondly, so long as we are holding above this ascending trend line, which currently has support sitting at about 77.2K, trending up over time, of course. Either way, so long as we don't break it, I simply see this as bullish momentum for Bitcoin, and once again the fact that we are trending up over time. A cleaner version of this is the chart on the 6-hour time frame. If we end up breaking this level, guys, at the very least we're going to see a move all the way down to 76,000 to basically retest this longer term area of support where we also had quite a bit of price action. Either way, so that's very likely going to be reached if we end up breaking this. Now, if we lose 76K, that will actually bring us to this higher time frame, the 1-day time frame. So as you can see, right now we're still in this big area of resistance from 76 up to 78K. That means that breaking down below 76K, while we already broke that ascending trend line, well, the next area of support below is already sitting from 73 all the way down to 71.5K. On the flip side, if we end up breaking through 78,000, or like I mentioned earlier, 79.2K, on that lower time frame, then the next big area of resistance above on this daily time frame is sitting from 80,000 all the way up to 82K in the Bitcoin price. Overall, if I'm just reviewing the base case that we have on the channel here, nothing has actually changed. We're basically just looking at this ascending trend line. Eventually, I'm expecting this to break down, where I will post this video called "The Trap Has Been Set," and from there, I will actually be looking for lower price action for Bitcoin. So yes, short term, technically, we're still in that bullish structure, guys, and just trending up over time. However, as you can see from this fractal that I took from the 2022 bear market low, which was actually right here, you can see that even if we get a move all the way up to about 83 to 86K, that would not be out of the ordinary for what we have seen in previous bear markets. And even in this case, we ended up rolling over, spending more time in this range that we traded in before, and eventually making one more lower low before then we get ready for that next bull market for Bitcoin. So this outline, well, of course, it isn't something that I'm expecting this to perfectly track day by day. This is a rough outline of what I'm expecting over the next couple months for Bitcoin. Now, if we're talking about the bull case for Bitcoin, which I actually rarely cover if we're talking about the higher time frames in these videos here, basically if this 60K level is actually the bear market bottom, which I think is highly unlikely but not impossible, well, in that case, the most bullish scenario is that we just get some more upside. So once again, just holding above that ascending trend line, we continue trending up for a while longer. But even then, I'm still expecting us to get somewhere close to that 60K level if that turns out to be the bottom, spend some time there, and then get ready into that next bull market. So either way, I am expecting this to eventually roll over. If it's not going to be a lower low, then of course it must be a higher low. But to me, it seems highly unlikely that it will be much higher than this 60K level we already have established here. Now, in terms of a price target on this weekly time frame, you can see that I'm actually targeting 52K in the Bitcoin price, because we have this massive bearish breakout pattern that broke out to the downside at 87,000. This first move down is the flag pull, then we flagged in here, and now we are breaking down once again. So this is a bearish flag pattern, and even while we are seeing a counter trend rally, this does not mean that we just need to continue going up forever from here. In fact, the first point of invalidation is actually if we get a move above 87,000, because then we can cross off these price targets, meaning that I'm no longer targeting this because the pattern is no longer valid. Besides that, I'm still expecting this low to come in somewhere between July of 2026 and March of 2027. So at this point, we're just a couple weeks away from actually potentially being close to reaching that bear market low. And today we are actually closer than ever to actually be inside that window and have those insane opportunities that could be amazing for the next couple of years. Moving on to the Bitcoin liquidity analysis. First of all, on the 2-week time frame, as you can see, guys, we still have liquidity on both sides. So the downside liquidity is sitting around 77K. And in terms of upside liquidity, that is sitting at around 79.7K. However, like I pointed out, for now, we're still in that bullish market structure on the lower time frames and holding above that ascending trend line and all of the things I mentioned before. So don't be surprised if we do end up taking out that upside liquidity. Only once we actually start breaking down below that ascending trend line, that is the time where we start looking towards this downside liquidity, perhaps even as low as 73K in the Bitcoin price, looking at all of this liquidity down here and saying, okay, now it might be time to actually come grab a bunch of this liquidity down here. But for now, even on this higher time frame, the 3-month time frame, most of the liquidity is actually to the upside. So that's why it's good to always check in with this Bitcoin liquidation heat map, because typically the Bitcoin price gets attracted to where there is the most liquidity on this chart. And of course, staying in line with that trend for now as well. Either way, this has been today's market update. Make sure to subscribe to the channel with notifications on so you don't miss any of these important update videos. But regardless, if you do end up subscribing or not, thank you for watching once again, and I will see you tomorrow in the next one.